The Board of Selectmen regrets to announce the passing of Philip Lapointe at the age of 90. Phil's proudest accomplishment was always his family of 37 grandchildren and 37 great-grandchildren. Phil was a graduate of Abington High School class of 1938, where he played football and went on to play for the Old Town football team. Phil joined the Navy in World War II and was a member of the Seabees from 1942 to 1946. He retired from the U.S. Postal Service in 1978, where he was known as the Whistling Mailman. Phil recently passed away and will be deeply missed. Also, the board regrets to announce the passing of Ralph Brett at the age of 89. Ralph was an Army World War II veteran, receiving several medals, including the Bronze Star. He was an Abington letter carrier for 42 years, captain of the 1939 Abington football team, and the last surviving founding member of the Abington Little League. Ralph recently passed away and will be deeply missed. Would you please join the board in a moment of silence for Philip Lapointe and Ralph Brett. Okay, thank you. Please be seated. First, under public announcements. The town moderator is seeking a registered voter who is willing to fill a current vacant seat on the 9-member Abington Finance Committee. Any resident who is interested in volunteering as a member of the Finance Committee should contact Town Moderator Sean Riley by calling his office at 781-878-2568 or by leaving your name and contact information at the Town Manager's office. Are there any other public announcements?
I have one.
Okay.
This Saturday, there is a 300th commemorative items bazaar at the Abington Public Library in the Copeland Room from 11 to 4, and there'll be all different items that you can't buy in stores, including the t-shirts, lapel pins, and some items that are specially made just for this bazaar. So this Saturday at the library.
Thank you, Kenny. Any other public announcements?
And just on Sunday, the Tricentennial Committee is hosting a road race over in Whitman. I believe it starts at 1 o'clock and starts at McGuigan's Pub and ends at McGuigan's Pub.
Okay. Also, the Tri-Town Veterans Day Parade is the 11th.
Yep.
Can't forget that.
Is it the 11th?
What is it?
Yeah.
Parade is the 11th.
The 11th.
Yeah.
It's
Friday the 11th.
Friday the 11th. Tri-Town Veterans Day Parade.
In Rockland.
In Rockland. Okay. Anything else for public announcements? Okay. All right, first on the agenda, we have a joint meeting with the Board of Assessors for the fiscal 2012 tax classification hearing. The Board of Selectmen will hold a joint hearing with the Board of Assessors on the fiscal 2012 tax classification on Monday, November 7th, 2011 at 6:35 p.m. in the Carter Hearing Room, Abington Town Offices, 500 Glenwick's Way, Abington, Mass. I'll entertain a motion to open the hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, hearing is open. Jack, would you care to take the mic? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Jack Pistorino, Deputy Assessor. We have here Chairman Paul Zakaruski of the Assessors and Michael Cunningham. This is the fiscal year 2012 classification hearing. The following is the supporting documentation and estimated tax rate for fiscal year 12. The recap, associated documents, and tax rate will receive final certification by the Department of Revenue in December. The tax bills will go out in December. A classification hearing is held to decide whether to shift the tax burden between property classes per Mass General laws. This does not change the total levy for the community. It simply determines the share to be borne by each class. The classification hearing does not determine the tax rate for the town. The classification does not determine how much money can be raised. A split tax rate will not increase revenue for the town. We have 4 property classes, the largest being residential at 85.43%. Commercial is 11.26%, industrial 1.18%, and personal property at 2.1%. The value of the average single-family home is $299,480 compared to last year at $298,000. The value of the average commercial property is $896,249 compared to last year at $899,199. The average tax on a single-family home would be $4,600, and that's an increase of 1.189% over last year's of $4,500. And the average tax on a commercial property would be $13,766, an increase of 1.11% over last year's tax of $13,613. The increase for the single-family homes of 1.89, it's not the 2.5%. We do increase it, Proposition 2.5 by 2.5%. But this year, the values for the single-family homes, the percentage is less than that, and that has to do with the debt exclusions have been reduced this year, and the capital exclusion was taken off, has been paid off. So that's a big reason why it's only 1.89%. This is the levy, fiscal year 12 levy. Last year's levy was $24 million. We added the Proposition 2.5. We add this year's new growth at $301,000, and we come out at $25 million. We do add the fiscal year 12 debt exclusion, which is $2,115,000. So the levy will be $27,131,000 for fiscal year 12. This is a comparison screen between last year and this year. Again, last year's levy was $26,888,000 compared to this year's of $27 million. The value of the town dropped a little bit by, I believe, $9 million. This year is $1,766 million compared to last year at $1,775,000. The tax rate for this year will be $15.36 compared to last year's at $15.14. And that's basically a 22% increase, 22-cent increase. And down here is a breakup of the residential percentage, again, commercial, industrial, and personal property, the 12, and on the other side is the comparison for fiscal year 11. The LA7 shift, any adjusted tax burden on the commercial, industrial, and personal property may not rise above 150%. This first block right here is a single tax rate. Residential, again, is 85.43. Commercial, industrial, personal property combined is at 14. This is the levy on both, and this is the tax rate. If we did the maximum shift, the percentage would be 78 for residential. Commercial, industrial, personal property would be 21%, and this would be the split tax rate at the max allowable. This is the LA4. This is our values for the town. These are all the property classes. 101s are actually single-family homes. In the total for each class that we have. This is submitted to the Department of Revenue and has been certified already. So our values have been certified. This is a little history of the town from 2000 to 2011. As you can see, in 2000, the residential percentage was 85, commercial, industrial, personal property was 14.4, and the tax rate was 19.10. And going down, it just gives you a little history. Looking at this, we really haven't changed much on the percentages for commercial and residential. For the last 12 years, we haven't changed much at all. These are the values for each class as well. The impact of a tax shift. The first line is a single tax rate. Of course, we already said the tax rate for residential money would be $4,600. Single tax rate, $15.36. Commercial, same thing. If we did a 5% increase split, the tax rate for residential would be $15.23. The savings would be $38.94 for the residential property. For commercial, the tax rate would be $16.13, and we would see an increase of $690. For a 25% shift, say, residential tax rate would be $14.71, a savings of $194. Tax rate for commercial would be $19.20, and an increase of $3,500. The max shift, we talked about a little bit earlier, down the bottom. The tax rate would be $14.05, a savings of $392 for residential, and an increase of $6,800 for commercial. That's the impact of the shift. A visual, just showing you the yellow is the commercial and blue is the residential tax rate and the shift. Just a visual showing you that if we did shift, residential really doesn't come down much, but the impact would be high for commercial. In closing, the Board of Assessors voted at their meeting to recommend that the Board of Selectmen adopt a single tax rate.
Okay. Any questions from the floor? No? Kenny?
What is considered commercial? I mean, it's like a mom and pop little store commercial, and like an itty-bitty, like Martin's Bakery is small, that's considered commercial?
Yes.
So basically, any business with a storefront is considered commercial?
Basically, yes.
And what percentage?
And commercial land, too.
Okay.
Vacant commercial land.
What, it says 14.56% is what is commercial right now,
Nope.
correct?
No, 11.
That's commercial, industrial, and personal property combined. It's
Okay.
11.2%, I believe it is, for commercial alone.
Now, at what point, what percentage would you look favorably, or maybe the Board of Assessors look favorably towards having a split tax rate?
Well, it does vary. Avon has roughly 40%, and they have a split tax rate. It does vary. A lot of towns, a lot of communities, 25% and up, might start thinking about splitting the tax rate.
And the only other thing I'd like to make note is maybe we can get this, is this a PowerPoint presentation? Maybe get it on the town's website so
It
people
will be.
can have it too.
Definitely will be.
Mike?
Yeah, on page 12, on the personal property, 2010 it was 37 million, and then 2011 went up to 42, and then it went back to 37. What was that?
The year before, fiscal year 11, we had a large growth in utilities. Personal property came in at about $116,000 in new growth on utilities alone, and that was the issue. That's the only reason.
So why did it go back down?
Lower utilities. We have less utilities now. That was the big jump anyway.
Yes.
Kevin?
If I could, in relation to that, Jack, with the utility company, with the change in law, and they filed the action in court, was that settled, or is that still pending, to your knowledge?
We have settled, the town of Abington have settled, and we are using their depreciation schedules from now on.
Which would have been reflective in what Mike's
That
question was.
also is reflective, yes.
So does that mean that we charge utilities for different, the poles?
Yep, poles, wire.
Well,
Anything else? Oh, Andy?
On the new growth, Jack, how does that compare to the previous years?
A little bit lower this year. Last year, we came in about close to $400,000, and the prior years, we were up in the $400,000s as well. We did estimate this year to have a growth number of $300,000. We barely made that. We were $1,000 over. Too close for comfort. We usually do trending. We do a 5-year trend. We look at building permits, a lot of different things. But we did make our figure, but it was awful close.
So you're comfortable with this figure, obviously?
That has been certified. My growth has also been certified by the Department of Revenue, my sales, my values, and growth.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else? Entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve a single rate factor of 1.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it's unanimous.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you, guys. Sean? Might want to tell the candidates if they want to bring a cup of water in. Thank you, Jack. See ya.
Yeah, you should have the school committee come up.
Yeah, come on up. Next on the agenda, we have the joint meeting with the school committee to jointly appoint for the vacancy on the school committee. Whenever you're ready, Chairman West, you can open your meeting.
Call the board of the meeting of the joint meeting of the Abington School Committee with the Abington Board of Selectmen. Please stand and salute the flag, pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay,
Turn the meeting back over to...
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're here tonight with the school committee to fill the vacancy that was created by the resignation of Russ Fitzgerald. We have a total of 8 voting members between the two committees, which means the candidate that gets appointed to the school committee needs 5 votes. We have adopted a voting procedure that was taken from Robert's Rules of Order. And to get to that voting procedure, we will be inviting each of the 6 candidates in individually in the order in which they applied. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes for an opening statement. Then they will be given the same 6 questions, 3 from the school committee, 3 from the Board of Selectmen. They will be given 2 minutes per question. After all the candidates have given their opening statements and answered all 6 questions, then we will deliberate. We will have discussion, discuss the candidates, and any letters of recommendation that have come in, we will read them. And then when we're done deliberating, we will have nominations. Nominations don't have to be voted on. They don't have to be seconded. They're just made. When we're finished making nominations, we will start to vote. And the voting procedure will be as follows. Basically, we're going to have a roll call vote of the nominees. So, for example, I will say, all in favor of nominee number 1, and I will count the votes. All in favor of nominee number 2, and I will count the votes. If someone gets 5 votes, then it's over. If we run through all the nominees, and there's not a nominee with 5 votes, according to this procedure, we have to start that exercise over again. The important thing I want all the voting members to know is you can only vote once per round. So, for example, after we get our nominations, we're going to run down the nominations. Everyone votes for 1. If after that round we don't have a nominee with 5 votes, we have to start over that one exercise with the same nominees. Even if the nominees didn't get any votes the first round, they'll be in the second round. Does anybody have any questions? Town manager? Oh, I'm sorry. I just want to point out also the candidates, when they'll be given 2 minutes to answer each question, like I said, our town manager will have a timer, and he'll have a yellow flag and a red flag. The yellow flag will be what, John, 10 seconds before the caution? 10 seconds left? Whatever you want. Okay. Does any voting members have any questions? No? Okay.
I'm sorry, I have one question.
Go ahead, Kenny.
Suppose we have a couple rounds and no one gets 5 votes, what happens?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
That's a good question.
That's why you asked it.
There's a few scenarios that could happen. We actually have the potential for a 4-way tie, okay, because we could get 4 candidates with 2 votes each. We'll cross that bridge if we get to it. But if we go through 2 evolutions and we still don't have a nominee with 5 votes, we have to discuss amongst ourselves how to proceed. We could take it we could do a 3rd vote, or we could call it a night, or we could discuss some sort of alternative, whatever. We'll let's cross that bridge when we get to it. I'll go slow. We'll explain it as we go. And No questions? All right, well, let's start with our first candidate. Our first candidate, we have Brenda Pignone. Brenda, did anyone, I'll explain to you quickly.
Okay.
You will be given 2 minutes for an opening statement.
Okay.
All candidates will be given 2 minutes for an opening statement, and then all candidates will be asked the same 6 questions. And you'll be given 2 minutes to answer each question.
Okay.
You can begin your opening statement whenever you're ready.
Good evening, everyone. Basically, in a nutshell, here to offer my services. I see a school board that has 1 member who's off serving our country, 2 school board members that are new, and a member that has many years of experience but is new to the position of chair of this committee. I have 12 years' experience. I did choose to step down after my children both graduated from Abington High School. But I do believe with 12 years of experience, 4 of them as chair, and understanding the intricacies of the law regarding school funding and setting policy, I could support and provide mentoring for the members of the committee. I am offering this experience for 6 months only. I will not be seeking a position on the school committee next spring. So when the election occurs next spring, the members of the school committee that are here will help to be able to mentor the newly elected members. Simply stated, if I can help them with my knowledge and expertise and experience, and if I have the support of the members of the Board of Selectmen and the current members of the school committee, I am willing to offer my services.
Thank you. Thank you. Would you like me to start, Chairman? I'll start with the first question, Brenda. In the past few years, Abington has seen a high number of its students leave the Abington public school system for private and vocational schools. Why do you think this is, and what can the school committee and the administration do to reverse this trend?
I don't have the numbers for this year. When I was on the school committee, there was always a certain amount of members of the 8th grade class that would leave. A lot of it has to do with the history of the family. Their parents went to private school or to schools that they were familiar with. I don't think that there's a huge amount of kids that leave, but what can we do to make them stay? I think that we can offer programs and services that these kids want to have at the high school, I think. But I don't think the numbers are all that drastic from what they've been over the course of my entire time being on the school committee. But I could be wrong because I don't know the numbers from this year.
Okay, thank you. Mr. West?
Yep. Hi, Brenda.
Hi, Jim.
We have 4 excellent candidates now. What makes you stand out among the other candidates? You kind of alluded to that in your opening statement.
I think it goes with my experience. I mean, I've sat here and I've done this for 12 years. I think that I can offer simply that experience that I especially think that it's important where you have 2 new members. You're new to the chair. You have a great amount of experience, and you have 1 member who's not, is not able to be here. I think I can offer some stability to the committee. I think I can offer some credibility. I think I come with a pretty good track record. I was elected to this position 4 terms, 4 that I went unopposed. So I think that sends a pretty good message from the community, I could be wrong, that they liked what I did and they trusted what I did.
Okay, thank you. The Board of Selectmen have successfully negotiated a 60-40 split in healthcare premiums with the police and library unions. These agreements can only be implemented if all unions in town agree to the same 60-40 split. If you are appointed to the school committee, would you support a 60-40 split in healthcare costs when negotiating with the school department unions?
I don't think I would be bargaining in good faith if I offered that opinion here.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
I
that's fine.
choose not to answer
That's
that because
fine.
I don't think that's
Okay.
I don't think that's a fair
Okay, that's fine.
statement for me to answer.
That's a fine answer. Okay. Chairman?
Yeah. I know that you alluded to this in your opening statement. Do you have any intention in running for the vacant seat in April, and will you be a candidate for re-election?
I will not be a candidate for the school committee.
Okay. Do you view regionalization as a long-term benefit to the school department's sustainability? And if so, do you support regionalization?
With Holbrook?
No, in general.
No, I don't. I don't think that regionalization would benefit the children of Abington, because I think what we have here in Abington is a really good school system, and I don't think that you need to add anybody else's problems into the mix of that. I think that we have a really good system right here.
Understood.
And Brenda, what's the most challenging issue that our children in our schools currently face?
Funding, funding, funding.
Do you want to elaborate on that?
No, I just think that, we're continually in the top 10% of student achievement and the bottom 10% of per pupil expenditure, and I don't think those numbers have changed that much since I left. So I think that the most challenging thing for our kids is to fight for programs and fight for services to get what they need to keep them in that top 10% of student achievement.
Okay. I guess that's it. Thank you, Brenda.
Okay, thank you.
Brenda.
Okay.
Do I leave?
You can go. You can do whatever you want. Next candidate is Kathleen Bailey. Yes. Okay. In case you don't know, Kathleen, every candidate will be given 2 minutes for an opening statement. Every candidate will be asked the same 6 questions, 3 from each board, and you have 2 minutes per question. Any questions of your own?
No.
Okay, you can begin your opening statement
Mr.
anytime.
Chairman, in order to accommodate the new law, I'd like to disclose that Ms. Kathy Bailey is the wife of my wife's brother, just for public disclosure purposes.
Thank you, Mr. Franny. Okay.
All right, well, as you probably know from the letter that I submitted, I'm very interested in being on the school committee because I think our children are the most important asset we have in town. And I have a very long and strong background in education. I started my teaching here in Abington in 1970. I shouldn't disclose the year. I've got 7 different certifications. I've worked on committees that have been statewide, New England committees. So I've got a lot of experience I'd like to share. I had planned actually on running for the school committee in April, but at that point in time, I was still teaching full-time and chairman of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Middle-Level Educators. And I had gotten a huge grant from the state for a program I was running with my students and didn't feel I had the time to devote to it that the position would call for. So I chose not to. However, I retired in June. So now I know I've got the ability and the time to do it. And I'd like to take all the things that I've learned in all of the school systems I've worked in, all the people that I've worked with, all the education I've developed, and use that for our kids here in Abington.
Thank you. Is that all?
That's it.
Okay. I'll read the first question. In the past few years, Abington has seen a high number of its students leave the Abington public school system for private and vocational schools. Why do you think this is, and what can the school committee and the administration do to reverse this trend?
Abington's always had a very good school system, but the publicity over all of the budget issues that have taken place have scared people. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons. People perceive that programs are being lost, and people perceive that they're not going to get as good an education as kids did in the past, and they don't want to stay on board for it. They jump ship. And I think the only way to keep that from happening is to be very open with the public, invite people in, let them see the schools. Way back in the olden days, when Proposition 2.5 came along, I was the coordinator of the volunteers in public schools in Abington. And we invited people into the schools to see what was going on. And I think that makes a difference. We need to let people know what the good things are that the schools do. And we need to make sure that these really important programs don't get cut, and that every student's need is identified. The upper level student, as well as the middle and the special needs student, everyone needs to have their needs met.
Great, thank you very much. Jim?
Hi, Kathy. We have 4 excellent candidates tonight. What makes you stand out among the other candidates?
I would say probably my background in education. In Abington alone, I've been a parent, I've been a volunteer, and I've been a teacher. Since I left Abington, I have gotten an enormous amount of education in the business of taking care of kids. I've been coordinator of the Cranberry Alliance of Middle Schools, where we provided professional development for teachers to meet the needs of schools. I've worked as a reading specialist. I've worked as a social studies teacher. The last 2 years, I taught media literacy, so I'm up on what's current. I've worked as chairman of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Middle Level Educators. I've been part of study groups from around New England. I've met with the Commissioner of Education. And so I've put in a lot of time, and I'd like to be able to use the things that I've learned here.
Okay, good. Thank you. Chris?
The Board of Selectmen have successfully negotiated a 60-40 split in healthcare premiums with the police and library unions. These agreements can only be implemented if all unions in town agree to the same 60-40 split. If you are appointed to the school committee, would you support a 60-40 split in healthcare costs when negotiating with the school department unions?
Yes. It's so many, it's something that has to kind of be negotiated. In a lot of school systems, the money is good, and the wording in their contract is not as good. In other school systems, the wording is very good, and the money they get is not as good. The amount that it costs to run a school system is impacted by that amount. And I know a lot of teachers probably in the town are not happy to hear me say that, but I've got to be truthful. I do think that could make a difference in the town in keeping a lot of the services and the programs that are really important.
Thank you.
Kathy, do you have any intention in running for the vacant seat in April? And will you be a candidate for re-election?
I would assume, unless things change abruptly, that yes, I would. As I said, I was hoping that I could have run last April, but I don't believe in doing something unless I can put the time into it, and I didn't have the time at that point in time. Being on the school committee is something that I have wanted to do for a very long time, but whenever I get involved in anything, I give it my all, and I knew at that point in time I didn't have the time to do it. So I would be interested in running in April, and then probably running for re-election, whatever that might be.
Good. Chris?
Do you view regionalization as a long-term benefit to the school department's sustainability? And if so, do you support regionalization?
I worked at Silver Lake Regional Middle School, so I have worked in a regional school system. I worked in Abington, I worked in Middleborough, which are not regional school systems. But every single regional agreement has different components to it. Regional systems can bring a lot of benefits to those systems involved. However, you also have to look at what what the system can accommodate in terms of student population, numbers, buildings, and you need to look at what each of the systems is bringing to the table. So I definitely would be open-minded about regionalization, because I've worked in a regional system and I've seen the benefits there. But I've also seen regional systems for which there were problems and it didn't work. And I think you have to look at, do the research, and really look at it closely to determine whether that's going to be a good thing or not.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, that's it.
All right?
Sure.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
What's the most challenging issue that our children in schools currently face?
Oh, my goodness, there are so many challenging issues that our students face. They need to come to school and feel that it is a safe learning environment. And I think a lot of the social problems out there come to school. So safety is huge. There also, however, needs to be a strong and challenging curriculum that looks at the needs of every single student. So I think the biggest challenge for a town, for a school committee is to make sure that all the pieces are there that will provide that safe learning environment, because a child can't learn if they're afraid of what's going on around them. And then make sure that everything is there that they need in order to become productive citizens.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, our next candidate is Patricia McDonald. Okay, Patricia, in case you don't know by now, you will be given 2 minutes for an opening statement, and then all the candidates are going to be asked the same 6 questions. I think it's 3 questions from Chairman West and 3 questions from myself. You'll have 2 minutes for each question. You can start your opening statement whenever you're ready.
Okay, my name is Patricia McDonald. I live at 202 Walnut Street. I have a background in business and human resources, and I've lived in Abington for 19 years. My husband Dan and I have 4 children. 2 of them are graduates of Abington High School. I have a son who's a freshman at the high school and a daughter in 5th grade at Woodsdale. And I ran for school committee in April of this year, got 724 votes, and was very interested in serving on the school committee at that time. Still very interested in serving on the school committee. I think my background with having business background and my background with the children and serving on PTOs and various town committees, that gives me a wide range. I've seen my kids go all through the schools, so I've seen all the great things that happen and things that need improvement in the schools, and I think that I could really make a contribution, and I hope that you'll consider me for the appointment.
Okay. All right, well, I'll start. In the past few years, Abington has seen a high number of its students leave the Abington public school system for private and vocational schools. Why do you think this is, and what can the school committee and the administration do to reverse this trend?
Well, I think a lot of that, and I hate to say this, but was in a way self-induced from the schools, because we had a tough budget situation, a bad economy, and we told parents that the sky was falling, that we were in a death spiral. We used inflammatory language. I think that really scared people. People didn't understand the reality of the situation. That I think that when we have a bad situation and we have a bad economy, we should work together as a town. Tell the parents absolutely up front what's happening. Yes, there's going to be cuts, but we're all going to work together. Not one child is going to get lost in this, we're going to keep their education up. People thought their kids weren't going to graduate, their diplomas were going to be blank, they were going to have, not get into college, and I just think that people were scared. And when I ran for school committee, I walked neighborhoods and I went door to door and talked to people, and that was what I was hearing. And the economy was bad, and people were just saying, we can't afford to send our kids to Spelman, but we're sending them there. And everybody who tried to get into VOTEC, and not everybody can get into VOTEC. So I just think that to stop it from happening, take a different tack. Like I said, just have people tell them the truth, but work together. And I think if we start taking the programs that were cut, putting them back into the schools, the people will start coming back around.
Okay.
Hi, Trish. We have 4 excellent candidates tonight. What makes you stand out among the other candidates?
Well, that's a tough thing to say. I think everybody's got their strengths. But I'll just say that my commitment, I got involved with this because when I was on PTO and just talking to neighbors, for better or for worse, I read every email that comes home from the schools. I pay attention to what's going on. And yeah, sadly, I watch these meetings on TV. So people would say, like, Trish, did you hear, my God, what the schools are doing? And I'll say, no, calm down. It's just this that they're doing. So people start saying to me, you listen, you pay attention, you should run for school committee. So I think I have a way of listening to people, calming their fears if they need to be, and asking questions if they need to be asked. And if I don't like the answer I get, I go to the source for the answer. And as many questions as I've asked Mr. Schaefer over the years, I think I've saved him as many phone calls, because I'll tell people, no, this is nothing you have to worry about. And I think that my background, just having the kids seeing, like I said, going all through from kindergarten right through to the college process, that I can see the strengths and I can see the weaknesses, and mostly I see good, but there's always something that can be improved.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. The Board of Selectmen have successfully negotiated a 60-40 split in healthcare premiums with police and library unions. These agreements can only be implemented if all unions in town agree to the same 60-40 split. If you are appointed to the school committee, would you support a 60-40 split in healthcare costs when negotiating with the school department unions?
Absolutely. The 60-40 split is generous compared to some towns. I mean, what we have now, 75, I believe, 25 is very generous. 60-40, a lot of towns have 50-50 and have had it for a long time. Cities and towns' healthcare is out of control. Cities and towns can't sustain that any longer. But I have confidence. I think the teachers' union, they realized that they had a nice contract in a bad economy, and they're going to sit down and say, hey, my employer needs us to give, and I'm confident that they'll do that.
Trish, do you have any intention in running for the vacant seat in April, and will you be a candidate for re-election?
Yeah, I have a garage full of signs, so absolutely, yes, I'm going to put in my name for a candidate in April.
Okay. Do you view regionalization as a long-term benefit to the school department's sustainability? And if so, do you support regionalization?
Regionalization is complicated. I know we just went through talks with Holbrook, and you're going to run into, different rates of pay, different benefits, things like that we have to work out. I understand there were issues with having to pay for busing. It's complicated, but I think it's something we should always keep the door open for. I think what we could be looking for right now is consolidation of services, purchasing, even maybe custodial, educational materials, anything that we can do, food services, anything that we can consolidate, and keep an eye toward regionalization, because you never know. We never shut the door to it. But right now, I don't think it's top priority. I think we need to get the school system that we have back to where it was.
Thank you.
And what's the most challenging issue that our children face in schools currently face?
Most challenging issue, I would say, would be their curriculum. When my son started in kindergarten, he's 20 now, he's a junior in college, and my daughter now, who's 10, there's a 10-year difference with them, night and day. With the MCAS, we're just putting more and more demands on the kids, and it's definitely got to be the curriculum, the lack of downtime, if you want to call it, that they have now versus that, and that's just in a 10-year span, and I'm sure that's MCAS driven. And yeah, I would say that's the most challenging.
Okay. Thank you.
And that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Our final candidate is Kate Marini. Kate, you're going to be given 2 minutes for an opening statement,
Okay.
and then you're going to be asked 6 questions, the same 6 questions that everybody else already answered.
Okay.
3 from Chairman West, 3 from myself, and you'll have 2 minutes per question.
Okay.
So you can start whenever you feel like it.
All right, great. I didn't prepare anything. I have lived in this community for about 7 years. We started in the community without children. So going to town meetings and learning about the community, we came from a different perspective. And then when we were very blessed to get our children, and they moved into the school district, I think the views of myself and my husband have changed a little bit. I think anytime that you have children in the district, you start to see things a little differently. You see those teachers every day. You see the bus pull up, and the troubles that the school system have are a lot different coming from a parent. That being said, I'm pretty fiscally conservative and have had to make decisions in the past that I didn't always agree with from a perspective of being so conservative. But I did that because I felt like it was the lesser of 2 evils. And I know that the school committee has to make a lot of decisions that way, that, you know, neither of the options are very palpable, but you have to choose one or the other. And I've seen the school committee have to do that, and I think I've positioned myself to be able to kind of make those decisions personally and for what I think is the best for the community. Okay. Yellow.
Okay.
Wait, sorry.
You were on the Finance Committee, right?
Yes, I was on the Finance Committee. Somebody just asked me how long I was on the Finance Committee for, and I can't remember. I want to say it was like 4 years.
Okay.
Give or take.
All right. All right. The first question. In the past few years, Abington has seen a high number of its students leave the Abington public school system for private and vocational schools. Why do you think this is, and what can the school committee and the administration do to reverse this trend?
I think first and foremost, the school committee, I think we should just number one, I think part of the students are the class sizes and programs being cut. That is a huge deterrent to families who have kids in this district right now, as far as keeping them in the district. I think a good number of kids just naturally want to work in trades that the South Shore VOTEC, we're very fortunate that they have those trades. And when it becomes a point like, are we going to be in a certain amount of studies all day, as opposed to going to South Shore VOTEC where it seems like the grass is greener over there, that becomes an option. I think the last couple of years have been really volatile in this town. As far as the school system goes, and being a parent, I understand that. One of my favorite things to say is, my kids are in a class with 30 children every day, so I understand what that's like. But I will say, even though they're in that class of 30 children, the education that my kids are getting is amazing for what little resources we've had to work with over the last few years. We've had a phenomenal experience within the school system. So I can say to anybody who's feeling like they need to go outside of the system that Abington has a great education for them. To be honest with you, I don't know that we can dangle anything in front of any parent when they're making a decision about their individual children. I think the only thing that the school committee can do is continue to make a commitment to make the education that we are offering the children the best that we can be, and that, I think, has to stand on its own.
Thank you.
We have 4 excellent candidates tonight.
Yeah.
What makes you stand out among the other candidates?
I think my perspective from the budget standpoint, I've sat through a lot of really long meetings when it comes to just the school department budget alone. We've sat through many a meeting about that. So I kind of know the ins and outs of the budget. I certainly cannot say that I'm as tenured as some other people when it comes to working with specifically the school department, but that's, I think a plus that I can bring to the table.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. The Board of Selectmen have successfully negotiated a 60-40 split in healthcare premiums with the police and library unions. These agreements can only be implemented if all unions in town agree to the same 60-40 split. If you are appointed to the school committee, would you support a 60-40 split in healthcare costs when negotiating with the school department unions?
Yeah, I don't know that this is going to be the most popular answer, but absolutely. I feel like if the rest of the town is making the commitment to go to that 60-40 split, then the unions that the school committee are involved with should also make that. And I personally, if appointed, would do anything within my power to carry on with that policy.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you have any intention in running for the vacancy in April of next year? And will you be a candidate for re-election?
I have made it a policy in the last 2 months to look at now. I can't, 6 months from now could be a whole other story. I can't tell you that right now, to be honest with you.
Okay, that's
fine. Do you view regionalization as a long-term benefit to the school department's sustainability? And if so, do you support regionalization?
I think regionalization in any department is worth a look in the town. From the first day on the finance committee, I think regionalization is an option. I think regionalization would be an option with the right school district, and I don't know that we have been presented with the right school district, but I think that that's definitely, you cut costs, you cut, everybody's sharing things that we wouldn't normally, sharing expenses that we wouldn't normally have the benefit of sharing with somebody else, and that's always a positive thing. You cut down on administration, you cut down on a lot of things. You also, in turn, have to put out a little bit more money, but the benefits as far as like grants and, building, the potential for buildings is definitely, can sweeten the pot and will make anything, it's always a possibility. I would never say no to anything.
Okay, thank you.
And Kate, what's the most challenging issue that our children in schools are currently facing?
The most challenging issue? I think there are a lot of them. It would be hard for me to pinpoint one particular challenge that the kids are facing. And in our school system, I think that a lot of kids are, that's a great question. I think that, I think classroom sizes are a challenge for the kids. And I think it's a challenge for the teachers to educate children in a class that size. I think any potential cuts we would have would be an extreme challenge to the children, because we're already working, I feel like, we're still on that baseline. I don't feel like we're back up to where we have been in the past. But that being said, I'm also a member of this community, and I don't believe that that it's all about, everything should be about the school, and everything should be about, that we should slash the knees of other departments to fund the school. I think it has to be even and balanced, and every decision that, and this is more of a finance committee thing, but every decision that the finance committee always had to look at was, when you cut from one, who are you taking it from? And so that is something that I'm always aware of.
Thank
Thank you, Kate. Thank you. Okay. Deliberation.
The air conditioner's on. System needs to be balanced.
Okay. What say you? Do we have, John, where's our town manager? Disappear? I have a letter here that was sent to the town manager and the superintendent of schools. It's from Thomas McNulty, the school committee member that's serving in Iraq. It reads, I am writing this letter in regards to the process utilized to select the current 6-month interim position on the school committee. I am aware a vote by the joint members of the Selectmen and school committee members will decide the fate of the position. I would like to suggest a potential future change to the process and most likely to our town charter, which will eliminate any inside politicking and personal preferences and put the vote back in the public's hands. The methodology utilized by the town of Weymouth exemplifies the process I believe should be utilized. Town of Weymouth Charter specifies, in the event of a vacancy on the school committee, the position is offered to the runner-up in the last election, provided they are still eligible to run. If our charter was written in a similar manner, the position would first be offered to Patricia McDonald. If she accepts, end of story. If for some reason Patricia did not accept, then an offer would then be extended to Joseph Mastrangelo. Both individuals ran for the school committee position during the April 30th, 2011 elections. Both placed themselves out there in front of the public. If for some reason all candidates declined, then I would suggest our current process. In light of our current situation, however, I would like to wholeheartedly place my support and vote behind the appointment of Patricia McDonald. I have often seen and heard Patricia in our school committee meetings. She is not afraid to voice her concerns to the committee and administration. I feel she would make a great addition to the committee, providing insight and tenacity to hold the administration accountable. Patricia has a vested interest in the district. They are called children. I cannot find a more motivational facet than one's own flesh and blood. I want to clarify my current status with everyone. As most of you are aware, I am currently mobilized to Iraq with the Army. I do understand the town charter regarding my ability to cast a vote. However, due to the special deployment circumstances, I hope and wish that you can utilize this letter as my proxy vote. Okay, well, we know per charter he can't vote, but he sent this, we got this just this morning, and I felt that it deserved to be read. Does anyone have any discussion? Kenny? No, Kevin?
No?
Okay.
School committee?
School
Any
committee?
discussion that we hear? No?
No discussion? All right.
The only discussion, I think, is all 4 candidates did a great job, honestly.
Yeah, they really did.
They all
Excellent.
answered the questions very, very well. It makes our choice very difficult, actually.
Very, very difficult. So, would anyone like to make nominations?
I'll go first.
Go ahead.
Okay. Who?
Brenda Pignon?
Brenda Pignon, okay. Yes,
In light
sir.
of the fact, I was very impressed with everybody, and I think it takes a tremendous amount of courage to do what these candidates did tonight, every one of them. I learned, you know, it's nice to hear other people's opinions and be able to stand up in front of a microphone, in front of a camera, and that takes real courage. I don't know if it would be proper, but I'd like to nominate the remaining members.
That's fine. You'd like to nominate
All 4?
all four at
Second.
once? Okay, that's fine, okay. That doesn't need a vote?
Nomination.
Okay. All right then, I guess so we'll roll call them in the order in which they applied. Yes, sir.
Just to be sure about the process, one vote.
Yes, I think we're all clear on that. Everyone in the first
I'm
round,
watching you.
one
I
vote.
got 2 hands, you know.
Things have been going pretty smooth. All right, so we're all set for nominations. Okay. All in favor of Brenda Pignon, raise your hand. Okay, keep your hands up. Keep your hands up. Brenda. Hold on, I said keep your hands up now. All right. Hold on, Jeanette, Ellen, James, Kevin. Okay. All in favor of Kathleen Bailey? All in favor of Patricia McDonald? Okay, hold on. Hold on a second. Patricia. Mike. All right, Chris, Andy, Kenny. Okay. All in favor of Kate Marini? Okay. We have a gridlock. Now, here's, per the voting procedure that we've adopted through Robert's Rules of Order, we are going to repeat the same exercise with the same nominees, even if they didn't get any votes the first time. Okay? We're going to do this again. All in favor of Brenda Pignon? Okay. All in favor of Kathleen Bailey? All in favor of Patricia McDonald? All in favor of Kate Marini? Okay, now, we must discuss amongst ourselves how to proceed. We can either do this a third time, or we can repost, start the whole process over, and hopefully do this again in December. We really don't have many other options. This was a concern going in with 8 members. It was a possibility from the get-go. There's a chance that Thomas McNulty could be back in December. We could do this again. Hopefully we'll have 9 members. So I would entertain a motion.
Well, I think, Mr. Chairman, I think the issue right now is the fact that if we're deadlocked, we have to look at, what are the issues before the school committee in terms of a timing aspect of things. And I think, when I listen to all the candidates, and I agree, all of them were very articulate, and I think they have the best interest of the town at heart. The thing that struck me on Mrs. Pignon is the fact that she wasn't going to run again. In fact, she's got experience to come to the table, and I guess in deference to the school committee members, 2 of whom are new and 1 who's in his new position as chairman, the issue in my mind becomes is perhaps with the issues that are on their plate, they could use somebody in an experienced setting to guide them along, to get them over the hump, as, if you will, we're going through the budget process. And then that way, those who want to run for school committee as fresh face, there's nobody that has a leg up. And I think you can very easily point to the recent United States Senate appointment. When a person was appointed, the governor indicated that he wouldn't appoint anybody that was going to run for the office. And there was a person that held that position so that there could be people in a fresh setting to start out and present themselves accordingly. And that's the reason I supported Mrs. Pignon. I guess the question becomes is maybe if we take one more round, and if it's deadlocked at that point, then to your question, if Mr. McNulty, if he is returning, I don't know, do we know that he is, or is he?
His wife indicated that there's a strong possibility that he could be home for Christmas.
Well, I guess I'd throw it out to what everybody thinks. I mean, I wouldn't be averse to doing one more round, but let's hear what everybody else thinks.
Okay, go ahead, Andy.
Okay.
No, I think my reason for choosing Patricia McDonald is the fact that she ran last election. She's the only candidate to run in the last election, and she garnered 724 votes. And to me, that is a mandate. Many people have been elected to office in this town with 724 votes or less. So I would have a hard time. I would feel like I was going against the will of the voter by not choosing the only candidate that actually ran for the position last spring. That's my thought on it. And Andy?
I agree with you 100%. Again, I think all four candidates are equally well qualified, but the thing that puts me over the edge as far as Tricia goes is she did run for the position. She put herself out there, ran a very strong campaign, we got 724 votes to her credit, and she's here again now looking to be put on the committee, and I think she deserves to be that person. So.
I think speaking from the school committee, from my point of view, is that I agree with Kevin, is that Ellen and I both being new, I know how long it took us just to get familiar with the basics, and we're running in at our recent meeting, we laid out the budgetary process and the meetings that are coming up, and it's quite large. So the experience now that we have a smaller board, much smaller, that Brenda could lend to us really, which is why I gave her my vote, is that I think we're going to need that experience, and she could lend it to us. And then come April, everyone that is looking to run has a fresh start. Everyone's on the same playing field.
Chris,
I'm sorry, Jim.
I agree with Kevin and Jeanette and Ellen. We need someone who's going to be ready to go tomorrow, next week, the next school committee meeting, that knows what the school committee's role is and has been on the committee before. Brenda brings that to the table. And the budget process is coming up real quick, and we need somebody that can get a handle on that, and the rest of the things that are coming up from now until next April. So that's why I voted for Brenda.
Go ahead, Mike.
I wholeheartedly know what you're saying about experience, but I served on the school committee for 9 years. And the budget process is complicated, but that's your superintendent's job to present it to the committee. The committee does nothing more than to support it, ask questions on it, and go forward from there. I have all the confidence in the world that Patricia McDonald could do this. I agree very much with Tom McNulty. I feel like this process, and you guys probably feel the same way, has really gotten a little bit out of control. I had a very hard time personally getting my arms around the fact that it had to be a majority, it had to be 5 people. To me, we were elected by our fellow citizens of the town of Abington. It simply should have been a plurality. Still would have ended up the same way. But I wholeheartedly endorse what Mr. McNulty has said about and I did go onto the Weymouth website and look at them. And I think, yes, that's the way it should be. If somebody has the courage to take out the papers, run for the office, I think that if there is an opening, that, and I'm personally going to push to have our charter change, whether you support that or not, and it more or less would eliminate something like this, because it's very uncomfortable, not just for me, but I'm certainly for you. The way we just did that makes it look like I'm voting against somebody. By voting for one person, it looks like I'm voting against 3. We do that in the ballot box, but we do it in privacy. This is terribly uncomfortable because all these people are genuinely good people. And it hurt me to have to sit here and go through this process like we did. So, given the fact that I support that, and I think in your mind, you might support that, and I certainly support having been overseas in the Army, Mr. McNulty's, and I would honor his requests. So I would like to see the people, move on with Patricia, but that's certainly up to you guys, because I think the way I'm seeing it now is probably, unless somebody changes their vote, it's going to end up with a deadlock. And for a month, Tom McNulty does come back in December, and we do the process again. Would it not change? I think it probably would, but that's up to you guys. No, I don't appear to be lecturing you. I apologize if I do. So.
Okay.
Just to follow up on
Andy.
Mike's point, I think that's really a very good point. If in fact we take another vote in this deadlock 44 again, we come back here in December, the same pool of candidates is here, it's going to end up, unless something drastically changes, with Tricia McDonald getting 5 votes based upon Mr. McNulty's letter here tonight. Mm-hmm. So we'd really, if we don't make a change here and Tricia gets the spot. We're just, my opinion, just delaying the inevitable for another month. That's my opinion.
Shall we take another vote?
I'm willing to go.
Sure.
Okay, all right, one more time. All in favor for Brenda Pignon? All in favor for Kathleen Bailey? All in favor for Patricia McDonald?
Wait a minute.
All in favor for Kate Marini? Okay, well, thanks
Mr. Chairman,
for,
I would move that we repost the position
okay, we have a motion, we have a
per the
second.
charter that people
Yeah,
reapply. and that
repost,
we,
start the whole process over again. Okay, do we have a second? Okay, second by Mr. Donovan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it's unanimous. Would you like to make the same motion?
Sure. Make a motion that we repost the position. Motion by Jeanette, second by Ellen. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Great.
do this again in a month. Good night, thank you. Is the senator still here? Yeah. Okay, how long is this National Grid thing gonna take?
I thought they would.
They've withdrawn, I thought so too, it was on the agenda. You can have the senator come in quick. Peter, did you want to say something?
Executive session.
I believe the school committee needs to, by roll call vote, adjourn to go into executive session to adjourn to public session.
Yes.
Yep.
Do you have to vote now to go into executive session?
Well, they're not gonna have a chance to do it again.
You shouldn't adjourn. I think you stay in session and then you take your vote to go into executive session.
Yeah,
I
you
think.
take a roll call vote to go into executive session.
Right. You'd stay in session.
Right.
Publicly state when they do adjourn that they will not be adjourned to public session.
I think you'll have to do that when we make it.
Good.
Okay, need a motion to adjourn and return to executive session later on in the meeting.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Let's see here. So,
All in favor?
Nation-
Aye.
Al, or Ellen?
National Grid is off.
Jeanette?
Aye.
Chair votes yes?
All right.
John?
Thank you.
Take that.
He doesn't want to.
Nothing. Nothing, Rifleman, nothing.
Nothing. Nothing.
Don't get him mad.
I know. Good. Welcome to our cold room. Welcome to our air-conditioned room.
Okay, this is a surprise. This is not on the agenda, but...
pleasant surprise.
It's a pleasant surprise. Senator Keenan and our state rep, Jeff Deal, have stopped by to say hello. Thank you, gentlemen. What's that? Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So this was just, we wanted to, you guys know that there was a budget, supplemental budget that just passed recently that was signed by the governor that actually funds the FY12 budget, which had the reversion money that $65 million cut from the governor's budget originally was restored in the House and then the Senate voted it in. And so Abington does now get back the $120,305 that was cut from the original budget. So we wanted to come by and I guess give you a ceremonial check for the amount that's now refunded back to the town.
Oh, that's
Excellent.
That's
Very
excellent.
good.
Thank you.
It's great.
Trust you'll spend it well.
Is it made of rubber?
Prudently. Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, let's have a...
We'll leave that with you, right?
All right, you want a picture?
And bring John.
All right.
John, get in there.
Chris, your comments up.
Is it?
Somebody's
Oh, wait, hold on a second.
There you go.
It's gonna be on Facebook
Yeah.
in about 5 minutes, right?
Excellent.
Very good.
Thank
And you can actually keep that, although you
Thanks
can't
for
cash
making,
it.
thanks for making me look short.
That's right. Nice to see
Hey,
you.
Very good. Thanks very much.
How's everything going, all right?
Yeah, all right. Very good. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
You're
guys.
holding
Guys,
signs
thank you.
tomorrow, John? You're holding signs tomorrow in the city?
No.
Yeah.
They just withdrew the petition.
We'll see you later.
All right, bye-bye, thanks for coming by.
Bye, thank you.
Bye-bye, see ya.
Appreciate it. We already have the money spent.
His sister was married to the mayor.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't have much confidence. No. Not this time, but he hasn't passed.
All right. Okay, the National Grid has been removed from the agenda. We have the approval of several sets of minutes. We all had a chance to look them over? Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve the September 12th open session minutes.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion,
Second that.
second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, September 12th is approved. Okay, next, September 26th, open session.
So moved.
Motion? Second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. September 26th, open session approved. Okay.
Now, there were changes made to.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
were included in it.
Okay, next. October 19th, open session.
Move they be approved.
Okay, we have a motion. Second? I'll second it. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Abstain.
Abstain, I'm sorry. Okay. Mr. Donovan abstains from October 19th. October 24th, open session.
Move they be approved.
Okay, we have a
Second.
motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. October 24th, open session minutes are approved. Okay, next, give me a second to catch up. Hold on. All right. Next on the agenda, we have the acknowledgement of town manager's signature on a subordination of mortgage for George Gillespie Way. John, could you elaborate on this, please?
Mr. Chairman, usually these subordinations are signed by the executive branch, and unfortunately, the individual had a closing date that was a week before, almost a week before the board meeting, so she would have lost her chance to finance and would have had to go through the paperwork again. So I signed with the condition that the board would ratify or acknowledge my signature in place of the board signature, the board chairman's signature.
I'm sorry, what?
I would move we recognize the fact that the town manager signed the subordination agreement.
Yeah, we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Yeah, what does all this mean? What does it mean? I don't-
Basically, it's like a right of refusal, right, John?
Well, what it does
Is
is...
it agricultural land, or is it?
No.
No, this is affordable housing,
Okay.
which is under the DHCD regulations, and the individual homeowner is remortgaging, and so therefore, the town has to sign off on the subordination of that refinance.
I think my pen just froze.
Okay.
You gotta take a vote.
Yep, we have, any further discussion?
No.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, it's unanimous. All right,
Thank
next. Accept resignation from Lenwood Thompson as Abington's representative for the South Shore Regional Vocation Technical School.
I move we accept with regret and send him a letter of thanks.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous?
Just a
sorry.
note, just to be mindful, anything to do with South Shore Regional, even though it's our representative, there is a separate agreement that was voted on by the town when the additional towns were added to the regional school district, so I think we should just check with the superintendent if we don't have a copy of that agreement, because it actually dictates the terms of office, and it may dictate the manner of appointment, I'm not sure. So just be mindful of that, that's all.
Okay. Town manager report?
Mr. Chairman, before we get into that, I noticed when the town manager was sitting over there, he had a yellow card and a red card. I'd like to have those cards on our table so we can...
And the egg timer?
Very good. Just give us the red card. Yeah, that's- No need for the yellow.
Go right to stop. Yeah. I just got some very quick announcements, actually, and one observation about town meeting that recently was held on the 24th. Just so the board is aware, there is a vacancy on the water commissioners. Mr. Stephen Bradbury has decided to resign, and so we can post the vacancy on Tuesday and have a joint meeting with the water commissioners.
And there's only 3 of them, so we can do it again.
Maybe some of the school committee, they can do both, they can apply for both, some of the,
Is there a correlation between the two?
I don't know.
Okay. So, in any regard, we will post tomorrow the notification of vacancy, and we're announcing it tonight if anyone is interested, obviously. The posting will be in the traditional location at the town hall, but also will be on the website as well. So we will post that. I will be meeting with the Finance Committee on Wednesday regarding the post-special town meeting discussion on the FY12 budget. And just a couple of observations and cautionary notes that I think we need to elaborate on or discuss at some point. During the special, we raised and appropriated and borrowed and transferred from free cash into stabilization a good sum of money. It was well over $1 million. We also financed for the first time in 3 years a capital plan, although not financed extensively. We did finance that to the tune of $1 million. It was over $3 million in funding that was requested from the various departments. The needs of the town certainly outweigh the revenue that we have coming in, so that we have to balance the priority needs of the community and the town in relationship to what we can afford and what we can sustain. We are going to closely monitor the spending activities of all of the departments as we have made commitments to the Tricentennial Committee to provide additional funding to them. We also find ourselves in a situation where we're making some personnel changes, and those personnel changes are going to also have to be financed to some degree. We are looking at a $7,000 commitment to the school system for a purchase of a regional bus, $35,000 for the Tricentennial, and between $42,000 and $48,000 for salaries as it relates to some personnel changes that we are making. I just want the board to be aware of those. Those are challenges that we're going to have to meet in the FY12 budget, but I think that there are challenges that we have to monitor closely to ensure that we stay within our FY12 budget. In addition to that, we also have the invariable snow and ice budget that every year goes over budget. We did appropriate $20,000 additional dollars, bringing that to $100,000. We've done a 10-year forecast on traditionally what we have overspent in snow and ice, and it's somewhere between $235,000 and $250,000 traditionally that we should have in the snow and ice budget to meet that obligation. In some years it's higher, some years it's lower, but on average it works out to about $238,000 a year. Nowhere near that amount have we been able to appropriate at this point, but those are future obligations that we're certainly going to have to meet. So I wanted the board to be aware of the cautionary notes as it relates to the FY12 budget, but that we will do whatever it takes to meet that obligation within the FY12 budget to the best of our ability. Now, we also made note at town meeting floor that when we talked about the FY12 budget, we also increased about $14,000 in the, again, the healthcare budget. That is always a moving number, as Kevin is well aware, and others on the board. Each year that changes. Those numbers continue to increase, although I think that with this new legislation that just was passed recently, that there is a strong ability to begin to contain those future expenses. It does nothing in relationship to reducing our overall cost. It just contains our future increases in a more meaningful and manageable way. If we were to look at a 60-40 split in healthcare, the town of Abington alone would save approximately $1.3 million. Now that $1.3 million will go a long way towards programs and services as it relates to both the school department and the town. So these are issues that we're going to need to discuss in greater detail as we go on. But again, you've got this issue where the state has come along after we had started our process of the 60-40 split and said, hey, wait a minute, cities and towns, let's do this. This is something that we can implement sooner than the 60-40 split. So we're going to have to, have some very frank discussion about how best we're going to approach the $1.3 million on one hand and the potential to save about $800,000 on the other. And so when we look at that, we need to look at that in the context of the FY13 budget. Because I will tell you that as we continue looking at our trends, we're going to need concessions or the ability to negotiate a different process for healthcare costs, because they're going to continue to rise. We can control the extent of how much that healthcare rises, but we need to also look at, be very mindful that our initial costs are 75-25, and then we have the tools to contain those costs going forward, but we still have to negotiate with each and every union the 60-40 split in healthcare. So I want everyone to be keenly aware of that, and certainly the general public as well. And so that's where we stand with the budget. I am going to make those same comments Wednesday night to the Finance Committee, and hopefully we don't have a tie on the Water Commissioners when we get to the point of replacing that illustrious position.
Okay, is that it?
That's it.
Thank you.
Quick,
Very
under
good,
5
John.
minutes.
Very good.
All right.
Put up
Very
the
good.
red card myself.
Don't
All
put
right.
those red cards away, though.
Might need it for Mike, he's up next.
Okay. Next on the agenda, we have Selectmen old, new business, old/new business. Okay, no argument from over here.
So I just had a couple things. We had talked about putting, in going through some of my paperwork, trying to clean out the pile that's in the corner. I did find some selectmen policies, financial policies, but I myself is kind of, some here, some there. If maybe at some point in time we could establish a booklet or something like that, not just for my benefit or whatever, that would be given to new selectmen. I would like to see us move in that direction. And this is the third time I've asked for information on the cable committee. I know John has sent up some emails. I don't, I'm not trying to point the finger or anything, but I find I'm hard pressed to think that we have a committee in town. We've talked about doing some issues about wiring and stuff, and I don't know whether they exist, don't exist, or whatever. I did go on the website, and there are members of the cable committee, and I don't know if it's wise to send each member a letter or invite them to the, and maybe we should, maybe it would help if we signed at Occupy Abington. And, it just seems, I'm dumbfounded to think that we get virtually no response, and I'm not, when I proposed this the first time, it was 2 or 3 people that had mentioned to me about the cable, about what is going on and stuff like that. I think it's more of an informational thing. It's not, certainly don't want to come across like we're going to attack them or anything. I just would like to know what's going on.
How about if we make a motion to invite them to the
Right.
November 28th meeting?
Exactly.
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Second.
So moved.
Okay, any discussion?
No?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, November 28th.
Yeah,
Cable.
and I think that, based on my brief email exchange today with Henry DiCarlo that it would probably be best that we set the date and allow them to come forward. I've also made a request for them to provide us with financials. I know that they're supposed to do that. I didn't realize at the time they're only 2 years old, or I don't know how old they are as a committee, but far less than the current license that we have, so I don't know how we handled money prior to, as it related to the 5% that was coming into the town with respect to subscriber fees.
Well, I think that money was accumulating over a period of time, and then once they came into existence, the money was transferred to the, whatever, I forget. Can, that's it.
And why don't we get
their
their...
years of money.
And in preparation for the 28th, perhaps we can get their most recent filing with the Secretary of the Commonwealth, because they have to file every year as a nonprofit, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes, and I've also...
The Secretary or the Attorney General, one of the two.
It's the Secretary.
Is it six? Yeah.
Anything else under Selectmen Old New Business?
I have a couple of things.
Mike, we have one more thing?
No.
Okay, Andy?
We had talked about the management letter from Powers and Sullivan. I don't think you were here at that meeting.
No, he wasn't.
And we were going to, at some point in the future, 3 or 4 months down the road, review it to see how the recommendations are coming, whether or not they've been met. So could we put that on the
We'll do
agenda?
that on the 28th?
I don't know if the 28th or maybe the following meeting is fine. Just
Yeah, because
Okay.
That's fine. And then we'd also, and this is an old issue that we've had around before, but, and I did have a couple of people from up in the Musterfield talk to me about the MBTA and the speed of the trains, and I know you had correspondence, John, with a couple of people up there too.
Yeah.
When they did the grade crossings, and I don't think a lot of the abutters were notified in advance, and there were some people who were pretty upset about that.
Well, we were equally upset because we were assured when I had discussed...
No, I know, I remember seeing the correspondence and the
And
emails.
they said that they would contact everybody
Yeah,
personally.
but that's just the way they do business, unfortunately. But I don't know if it's an issue we want to talk to the T about again, as far as, they've been going slower now because they were replacing all those railroad ties. And I remember when they came in here and said, well, we can't slow the trains down because we have schedules. Well, they've been operating with a slower train over this period of time, and if that reduces the noise up there, and if that's something that we could talk to the T about again, then that would be something I would like you to take a look at.
Because of the number of grade crossings that the town has, the whistle is a requirement, so there is...
I know, but I don't think it's as much the whistle. The last time they were here was the speed, and, yeah. And then the final thing, and we did this, I think, about 6 months ago, we had town council come down and review all the pending litigation. Is that something we can do again?
Yeah.
I think that's helpful to everybody.
Yeah, primarily, labor negotiations.
And labor negotiations,
Yeah,
too.
that's,
I can bring you up to date on labor. We can hold a, special meeting on that. It's going at a snail's pace, but
yeah.
actually the snail is going faster than the negotiations.
That's all I have.
All right, anything else under Selectmen Old New Business? Kenny?
I got a couple things. Having served on the previous Griffin's Dairy Study Committee, I think I saw a correspondence not too long ago about a couple of the votes they've taken. Maybe we can get a status update of where they are and if they have plans to present findings, or, I don't know, if they fall under our jurisdiction, is that correct? They report back to us. So maybe we don't want to be like the last one that went on for years and years and years, so.
We can invite him in at some point,
Which committee?
just for
Griffin's Dairy?
for a status update.
They did take some votes.
Yes, they did, and I think they provided us with...
Yeah, we got them.
Right.
Yeah, but there would be, I think there'd be a good
Talking about
idea to have
Just
them
to
come in.
find out if they have a time frame in mind, or sometimes if you go too long on that thing, things where some members, drop out, there could be
Okay.
issues with that.
All right.
I think I have one other thing too.
Go ahead.
And,
Motion to adjourn?
no, not yet. I'm not sure if this committee falls under the Sage Committee. Are they to report back to us
Yes.
too? I'm just curious as to what kind of energy money they saved the town. I mean, that's what their purpose was, correct? To save the town energy costs? Thought they would have gone to look into, converting buildings over and to save the town some money. So I just hoping to maybe get a status update from them to see what they're going. I see a lot of things they do, but it doesn't seem to me, a farmer's market is a great way, but I'm not sure if that's saving the town any money or energy. So I'm just, maybe, I don't know, maybe see what their mission statement is, and is it what we want, is it what the town wants? Because my understanding is saving Abington through green energy. I thought it was, they're gonna look at, do an audit on all the buildings and see if we were losing money that way. You see other towns, those energy groups seem to be more focused in municipal buildings and municipal areas. And I'm not sure if this group is, they've had some issues, I know, with the leaders, and maybe they need a little direction, that's all. That's a good idea.
Yep. You know, I think we had also discussed the possibility of bringing some of the boards and committees in to provide a 10 or 15-minute report or update about what they're doing, whether they're elected or appointed. And I think that might not be a bad idea, so that the board has a general sense of what's going on with the boards that are elected and those that are appointed as well, some by the Board of Selectmen, some by the town manager. So I think it's a good idea to bring him in. I think we can do Griffin's Dairy and Sage and bring 2 committees in every time we meet for the next month or so, 2 months, and bring in, you know, get updates as to where we stand and what we're doing.
Would be good. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Nope. Okay, there's no public to comment, so.
I think they
Chris is here. Chris, do you have anything to say?
Chris, you have anything?
He's texting us.
Oh, really?
We do have
No.
Wi-Fi, yes. I should announce, if you are interested in getting on the internet, you can come down here with your laptop, sit here in the office, in our illustrious quarters, and go to the website with free Wi-Fi. It's available, thanks in part to the taxpayers of the town of
Do they have free Wi?
Abington.
Do they have free Wi-Fi at the library?
Yeah, well, I don't know about
Well, they can go to the library.
I'm sure they do. Well, they have free Wi-Fi at the senior center, at least half a year before we got it here.
Well, they probably have heat in the library.
Yeah.
All right. So we need a motion to enter into
Chairman?
executive
Mr.
session.
Chairman, before we do that, maybe I'm wrong, but we got in trouble once before with the open meeting law. I think we should invite the school committee in front of the camera and send it to them.
Yeah, I think we're going to do it in here. We're going to go into executive
Well,
session.
all I'm saying is, once before, there was a vote taken in the hallway, however innocent that's.
I think they took
They already took the vote.
Oh, they did
They
take
already did. They took a
And their
vote
microphone was
to
on, I think.
Yeah.
convene
Okay,
their
all right,
public
I'm sorry, I
session,
wasn't
to
aware.
go into
Okay,
executive session.
that's fine.
Okay, I need a motion to enter
I
into.
move we enter into executive session jointly with the school committee for the purposes of strategies pertaining to collective bargaining and not to reconvene to open session.
I need a second. Second by Mr. Coyle. All in favor? Aye.
Roll call.
Roll
yes.
call. Yes, 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 yes. Everyone's a yes.
Everybody say yes.